Good afternoon, friends. It is Monday, and we are 2 weeks away from starting what can best be described as a fall tour. 15 dates that I'll be circumventing the state of Michigan, talking about social and how you can upgrade your social. And we start in 2 weeks in Flint, talking about how to engage with your customer. So Saturday night, I was doing one of my favorite things. I was at Wrigley Field checking out Pearl Jam for night 1 of 2. They're playing their second night tonight. And I brought a friend along with me. And we had a great time, but the one thing that he kept talking about was the community that was around this band. The people who paid $150 to sit in the seats at Wrigley Field. The people who waited for 4 hours to buy a poster of said show. In some cases, missing that show because they were trying to buy the poster. Oh, and then there was this guy. And at some point on Saturday night, somebody in that stadium looked around and saw all of the commerce and all of the community and said, I'm gonna do this. I'm building this whole thing. But they miss a key component. That key component is that Rome wasn't built in a day. You've heard that 1,000 times. But what that means is on Saturday night, Pearl Jam has been a band, or in the marketing sense, a brand for 30 years. So what happened on Saturday night was 30 years in the making. What happens at Nike is 40 years, 50 years, 100 years in the making. What's happening at Starbucks is 150 years in the making, and so forth and so on. So when people talk about how do I engage with my customer, well, the thing is, you have to understand that you don't have an expiration date on your business. You don't go, well, I mean, in 2020, we're gonna shut the whole thing down. That's why we built this thing in the first place. No, you're trying to build it to be whatever you want it to be, one day at a time. And that's how you start engaging with your customer, one day at a time. Start talking to them, start making content that answers their questions, start figuring out a way to respond to their critiques, and then rinse and repeat, and you will get better the faster and more that you play in that space. The more you interact with them, the more they'll interact with you, and then guess what happens? You become Nike. You become Pearl Jam, you become Starbucks in your own universe. Because that's the amazing thing about the internet. When you only had mass media, you had to win it all, right? Your billboard had to be seen by everyone. Your TV commercial had to be viewed by all the people. But when you're dealing with that along with digital marketing, you have the opportunity to grab your part. Not the whole part, just the part that you need. And the one thing I would tell you on a Monday afternoon is the longer you sit around waiting to start, the further away your competitor can get from you. You have a competitor. That competitor has an iPhone. And if that competitor has 15 more minutes a day than you do, then they're gonna win in the content game. Tomorrow, we'll talk a little bit about voice search because there's a really cool Google study about empowering the customer in that space. And until then, questions, it's Eric at mlive.com.